Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Merko, CEO here at CoinMetro. Please excuse my voice. Traveling the last few days, some long nights in St. Petersburg. Back in Tallinn, just arrived. Let's do a mic check before we move forward here. So please, anybody, YouTube or Facebook, just give me the quick thumbs up, and then we'll start moving on. Sorry for the delay, but yeah, I came in on a flight. Flight landed roughly around the time we usually run these AMAs at 5 Tallinn time, and it took me a bit of time to get back to the office. Thank you, Bjorn. Appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into it. So we follow a bit of a, if you haven't been with us previously, I follow just a basic schedule here. We go through news from last week that was curated by some of our guys on Telegram, and then we go through some Reddit questions also curated on Reddit over the past week, and then we'll jump onto the AMA. Axel, nice to hear, buddy. You should have heard me yesterday. I literally was going from highs to lows to like no voice. I sounded like a 90-year-old woman that had smoked for 85 years. And this was while I was, talking to people at a conference. So I was kind of like, hey, how are you doing? It was pretty brutal. So anyway, let's jump on to the news. So first news story. Now, normally I don't read these news stories, guys, beforehand, because most of the time I will have already seen the news story or seen something close to it, or sometimes I guess what the story is when I read the title. I'm going to be honest. So I haven't looked at any of these like I normally don't. There's a few on here that I'm not even sure I know what the story actually is about. We're going to try to make it through this. All right. So it's Friday. Let's try to have a little fun. So how the crypto crash could be good for crypto. Like I said, didn't read this, but I'm going to make a few assumptions. So I'm going to agree with that off the top. Mainly, look, I actually responded to a tweet on Twitter. I guess that's the only place you can tweet. But anyway, I responded to a tweet on Twitter about this very, very subject. There, somebody talked about how the launch of Backed may not. I think it might have been on Coin Economist or Cointelegraph. I'm not sure, but somebody mentioned something about how the launch of Backed may not, start the new bull run. And my response to that was, yeah, of course it won't. The bull run, the fall, and now the stagnation are caused by many things, but one of the major causes are ICOs. So you had the ICO run up, you had the fact that people were buying crypto for the first time to buy into ICOs. The ICOs were not selling that crypto because it was gaining more and more value, like by the second, by the day, by the week. And then you got to the point where it got high enough where the selling started. And once the selling started, you had capitulation and the selling kept on coming. And now you have ICOs where people come in and buy crypto, but it's immediately sold by the ICO. So that's why you see stagnation, because people are coming in and buying. And whoever's receiving that cryptocurrency, not just ICOs, but businesses and the like, are no longer holding it because they don't want to take the underlying risk. So they immediately sell. So you're getting this stagnation factor. So how can that be possibly good for crypto? Well, markets, as they mature, generally create their own shit filters. And when I say shit filter, I literally mean shit filter. So a new market has a lot of shit in it, a lot of bad stuff, a lot of bad actors, a lot of ridiculous things, a lot of overpriced assets. You can look at the internet bubble for, let's say, the closest comparison in the last 20 years or so. You can look at the real estate bubble, to be quite honest. You have a lot of toxic debt that everybody's just shilling all over the place, and people are buying it, and it's all good, and prices are going up, and everybody's happy, and then all of a sudden people figure out they bought a bunch of shit. And then the market crashes. So the fact that these filters are starting to come in to play, and the market's filtering itself, at the end of the day will be a good thing, because you can't have a market that has no framework, that has no filters, that succeeds. It just doesn't happen. So it is a good thing. I don't know what their comment was in this article specifically, but I'm going to assume what it was, and I'm going to agree that overall, crypto crash is definitely good for crypto in its current state, for sure. Number 2, on a list of 10 news articles from last week, crypto exchanges line up to support Bitcoin Cash's hard fork. Bitcoin Cash is obviously one of the most liquid. I think it's in the top 5 of liquid crypto assets. So obviously, if there is a fork coming up, especially one that has any type of news or one that's let's say has some following behind it, obviously you're going to want to support it if you're an exchange. It just makes sense. I don't know off the top of my head what Bitcoin Cash's percentage is, especially at different exchanges. But I would say on the top 5, it probably takes up it's probably I don't know, probably in the upper single digits to the low double digits. So that's a decent piece of the overall volume. Obviously, you want to continue to hold that volume, and what you want is that when that fork happens, you want to make sure that anyone's holding Bitcoin Cash on your system is going to benefit from that fork, because if they don't, they're going to move elsewhere. So it makes sense. Number 3 on the list of 10, South Korea crypto exchange Bithumb launches payment service with Asian Amazon QOO10. It's probably a good way to pronounce that, but I have no idea what that is. Well, look, Bithumb. So I've said this a bunch of times, and I've said it for CoinMetro in particular. There's no real future for companies that call themselves crypto exchanges today in 2 years if they don't start to add in additional revenue streams. If they don't start to create products that people that are not necessarily interested in crypto can use. Because the only way to mass adoption is to provide services that people understand, use already, and then they end up using crypto by default. When you use something without really not really knowing you're using it, that's mass adoption. And that's what happened with the internet, right? So everybody here knows what the internet is. We're sitting on it right now. I'm talking over it right now. You're listening to me over it right now. So the internet's a pretty easy concept to understand. Most people don't understand how the internet works, but they use it. And they do all these things now every day in their cars, on their phones, on their laptops, on their tablets that connect them to the internet without really even knowing. People only know that they're connected to the internet when the Wi-Fi gives out. Then people start to freak out and go, oh my God, there's no Wi-Fi. But outside of that, 20 years ago, if you gave somebody a laptop, that was about this big, weighed like 9 pounds, it was awesome because they could do things with it and type stuff and archive things and put things on diskettes. If you give someone a computer now and there's no internet access, it's a fucking brick. It's worthless. Nobody even wants to deal with it. So the internet has changed the way we live, and crypto and blockchain pretty much are on the road to doing the same thing. So companies, you don't find companies that are just internet companies anymore. We had those. Guess what? Once you couldn't charge $35 a month for AOL dial-up, you needed to break off and have some more revenue, right? So same thing has to happen in this industry. So good for Bithumb. Hopefully they have some other tricks up their sleeve, because I'm not sure payment services will be enough. Number 4, Texas regulator issues cease and desist order to cloud mining company. Let's see. I'm gonna click on this one here because I'm gonna get a little bit of insight to understand why they gave the cease and desist order, or else I'm just kind of blowing smoke into the wind. Here we go. So nice little line right here. The Texas security. Okay, so it says the unregistered cloud mining power contracts and promising 200% passive return on every investment. Well, I guess the guy just really wanted to go to jail, or he's an idiot. Or he's an idiot that wanted to go to jail. Not sure which of those is worse. Unfortunately, in our legal system around the world, ignorance is not a defense. For some crazy reason, insanity is. But if you're just too stupid to know what the law is, that's you can't break it. I didn't know I couldn't promise ridiculous returns I'm never going to deliver. So at the end of the day, this guy's probably going to be in a world of hurt, whoever runs this company, not just from the Texas regulator, but at the end of the day, if he went over cross borders, meaning that cross state lines, like he had people that were giving him money or buying things that were not just in Texas and in maybe New York State or California, you're going to probably end up with a federal judge sitting on this case at some point with the SEC involved and maybe the FBI as well for fraud. So I guess Texas regulator is going to take the first whack. But it's going to be a long road for this guy, and I can't say he doesn't deserve it because, well, 200% passive in the U.S. Like, come on, guy, really? You got to step up your game a little more than that. Number 5 on a list of 10, Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange issues thought paper on crypto and blockchain. So I haven't read this. The Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, their thought paper. I'm not sure if it's positive or negative. Considering it's a thought paper, I'm going to assume it's like neutral. Let's see. Okay, it says there continue efforts to manage the transition from conventional assets to more encrypted assets, which are witnessing major and rapid development in the region. Okay, so I would say that this is more. Look, a lot of guys are coming out, and I met a lot of them in St. Petersburg. Right, everybody wants to do security token this, security token that. There's no such thing as a security token. I don't know if I'm the only one saying this, but I can't imagine that I am. There is no such thing as a security token. However, you can easily today, under current regulation, make a tokenized security, because you're simply creating a security like any other security, whether that be a share, a preference share, a Class B share on a public or a private company, whatever, and you tokenize it, meaning that you create a new way to deliver. A new way to deliver, to negotiate, and to provide liquidity to that asset. So anytime someone says STO to me, I die a little on the inside. But I think what this paper is really talking about is the tokenization of assets, not so much crypto. I think right now crypto is kind of a blanket term we use for any type of asset on the blockchain. But I think in the future, crypto assets, there'll be a definition, let's say, for crypto assets, and then tokenized assets. I do think we're going to start to see some segmentation, but I think here they're mainly talking about the tokenization, and rightfully so, because it's an easy no-brainer for securities exchanges around the world to tokenize some of the assets. And they're getting into a hype cycle right now, which is probably going to help them sell more. So in that sense, it makes sense as well. Number 6 on a list of 10, Apple removes crypto podcast, reportedly ranked number 4 in investing from U.S. iTunes store. So ranked in investing is probably the reason they removed it. Let's have a look. So the podcast, hosted by Morgan Creek digital partner and crypto analyst Anthony Pompliano, off the chain, has apparently been removed from the U.S. iTunes store. Last week we released the podcast. It exploded, ranked number 4 in U.S. investing category. Well, so I'll direct this to Mr. Anthony Pompliano. If don't ever, unless you're licensed to do so, especially in the U.S., go online and give any type of advice or even quasi-advice, and then list yourself in an investing category without the proper regulation. So I'm assuming that iTunes probably pulled it off mainly because they could have heard what they construed to be, or got reports from users that they construed to be investment advice. It's listed under investing. It's now listed in the top 10. So, boom. Number 7. Out of a list of 10, Coinbase CTO crypto is entering the tech mainstream. Well, I agree that it's starting to enter. It's kind of like if you're opening a door and you got, one hair through the threshold. The door's open, so you're on your way. I wouldn't say we're mainstream yet, but entering, I guess, depending on how you define entering. Look, at the end of the day, blockchain in and of itself is not all that interesting. And I hate to say that, but it's not. It's not all that innovative. It's a protocol, and it's a protocol that's been around. At least distributed ledgers have been around for quite some time. Consensus and distributed ledgers, a bit of a newer technology, that's for sure. But really, what really has propelled the use of blockchain and these consensus algorithms and these protocols is because of the app layer on top. Your ability to build decentralized apps. And some of those apps are, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and etc. And some of them are other types of apps that transfer not monetary let's say data that's linked to some type of monetary instrument, but it's just data. So well, what we're seeing is kind of the next wave of the internet. However, again, for that to enter mainstream, how long did it take the internet to go mainstream? It took quite some time. The cycle has, kind of wind down, so it's moving faster now. But at the same time, these things take time. So I agree that we're entering, but I think we have a ways to go before we're actually over the threshold. Number 8 on a list of 10, SEC charges EtherDelta founder with operating an unregistered exchange. Yep, I tweeted a tweet about this one as well. So there's always been this, since fintech and tech in general has kind of come onto mainstream, it's come like a everyday thing in our lives. Countless platforms have tried to use this defense that we are just a platform. We don't actually do anything. We don't actually provide services. We just give the platform, and the clients, trade them with themselves. Yeah. I'll give you some more famous, some of the more famous platforms that this didn't work for. Napster, our friend Kim.com and his mega upload. Silk Road. When you create a platform, under most legal guidelines, you're responsible for what happens on it. So at some point when bad shit starts to happen on it, or in this case, it might not be bad. It may not be that there's, and I read the complaint actually. They didn't talk about fraud. They didn't talk about, what they talked about is it's unregistered. So even though the platform isn't centralized and the platform isn't receiving custodial funds and it's not, they're still providing a platform that's allowing people to transact between themselves, transact monetary instruments. That requires regulation. So I think this is kind of, the SEC works in a very meticulous fashion. And, like I said, like I've said many times, it starts with a blanket kind of, be careful in this industry. We don't know if we want to regulate this, but it's dangerous, creating a bit of fear. And then they come in and they usually have the litigation comes, they wait for federal judges, they start to put precedent. And then they start to go down the line. Now, because crypto has so many facets, you have the tradability, you have you have assets in crypto that can be kind of like convertible bonds. You have assets that look more like securities. You have assets that look like shares. You have assets that look like, convertible loans. There's all kinds of different assets. So they're starting to pick apart all the different holes that currently exist out there, and this is definitely one of them. So this means that basically if you run a decentralized exchange, you're still going to need to get licensed. It also means at some point they're going to hit them with KYC, AML, guaranteed. It's coming. Number 9, BitThumb claims leading crypto exchange title amid apparent wash trading. I haven't read this one, but yeah. Look, if you look at things like Kraken, Bitstamp, Circle, Polynex, etc., and you look to see the volumes they do, and they all hover around 2, 3, maybe 4 billion a month. And then you look at platforms that do 30, 20, 35. Yeah. Wash trading is rampant in this market. Rampant. Real volumes are probably 75% less than what's shown on most platforms. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. This doesn't mean that the platform themselves are wash trading, but if it doesn't mean that, it means that they're allowing their clients to do it, which I'm sure the SEC is also looking into. A little more complex of an issue. Will take some more time before you see the first precedent on that one, but that's coming too. Number 10, crypto exchanges must grow or die, says exec at fintech firm Cinnabar. Yeah, agreed. This article, though, because I don't know if I read this particular one, but I read about Cinnabar over the weekend, over the past week. This guy, is kind of, you have to do with institutionals. You're going to have to, get more institutional level products. And I agree with that to a certain extent. There's nothing really to sell institutions yet, to be quite honest. You need a strong retail flow. You need strong, soft retail liquidity to sell back up to institutions. Yeah, because it lowers their risk and allows them to mitigate the risk when they're market making into that softer liquidity. You're not going to sell institutional flow to another institution for the most part. So I do agree that there needs to be players out there that deal with the institutional flow, but these will probably end up being the players that deal with institutional flow now in other markets because they have the experience. They have the experience on the tech side, and they understand how to make markets. It's as simple as that. Retail is another thing altogether, but yeah, and Cinnabar obviously provides. I mean, they provide tech, so they'll sell tech to anybody. They don't really care. At the end of the day, somebody buys the tech, that's great. But depending on how regulation moves, crypto. Lots of pieces of crypto become tools in the tool belts of traditional finance, and whether you like that or not, and I'm not saying I like it, to be quite honest, and I'm not saying I dislike it 100%, but that's what happens, and that's what's happening. So, okay, moving on to Reddit questions. We have 6 people posted, or at least that's what was curated on my side, so I'm going to go through them as fast as I can. We'll see if there's any AMA questions that'll float in. And here we go. So, Reddit questions. We have Andres Pet Monkey. Next, we'll be running a fiat paired OTC dark pool, which will have BTC, ETH, Litecoin, NEO, EOS, NEP5, and ERC20 tokens. They are the first security to obtain legal compliance and present in front of European Parliament. The team is the founding company of City of Zion. They are now in the processing, Jesus Christ, I don't know who wrote this, but of obtaining securities holding license in the U.S. and a banking license. Okay. What are your thoughts on Next and how CoinMetro compares? Have you looked at them in depth, and do you see them as significant competition? In what ways CoinMetro have an edge? Okay, so I did look at this at one point. I'm going to try to look at it again here while I'm sitting with you guys. Let's see. I mean, the press release that was in quotations is some of the most horrible English I've ever read in my life. So that doesn't give me too much of a initial kind of butterflies in the stomach. But let's see. So looking quickly here, they have... okay, so they claim to be decentralized, no centralization of assets, high volume, high speed, unique off-chain matching engine, complex trades, okay, market and limit, not very complex, but okay, cross-chain trading, okay, added soon, okay, payment services, okay, fiat gateways, licensed businesses across the globe can partner with Next. So they're not saying that they have fiat gateways, they're saying they'll allow fiat gateways to partner with them, okay. They have a wallet, and of course they have their token. Okay, now I'm trying to look quickly here at they talked about European Parliament, though I see nothing about any type of regulation currently. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. I don't know where they're based. Let's see if anybody. Oh, what is this? Okay, Ginger Crook is laughing. I don't know if that's at my voice or what, but let me know what that's about, Ginger Crook. Maybe I can Ginger Crook. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where they're based, but not really having any. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but look, there's a lot of people claiming to do a lot of things. If I look at this topically, I would say that they're still not doing some things that we're doing. They're doing some things we're not doing. It looks to me like they're not so focused on regulation. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, trust me, I drank a lot of tea over the past couple of days, but tea, water, somebody at some point told me I should drink tequila, which I already knew was, an old wives' tale, but yeah, it's actually much better today. This is beautiful compared to what it was yesterday. So on Next, so how do we, like I said, how do we compare? We have features that they don't have. They have some things that they're promising to do that we don't have. They're saying they have no single point of failure. I'm not sure if I follow that 200%, because there are some things here. They actually have a matching engine. While it's off chain, it's still an engine that has to sit somewhere. It doesn't look like it operates over nodes. So if that fails, that's a single point of failure. So anyway, it's too topical for me to make a real point, but let's see what they do. There's room in the industry for more than one player. I think they're focusing probably on a different subset of users than we are. I think they're probably looking at more of your cryptophile people. They do say blockchain for everyone or something around here. I saw it. Next's interface makes blockchain accessible to everyone. Maybe not. I don't know. Cross-chain trading and fiat gateways and all these. I mean, the wording here tends to tell me that they're going after more of let's say professional retail onwards up to maybe what they feel is institutional. So at the end of the day, like I said, they do some things we do, they do some things we don't, we do some things they do, we do some things they don't. I think our branding and everything is much different than theirs. I think we're probably going after different subsets of clients. We're probably, so we'll see. They say they're going after securities holding licensure, whatever that is, in the US and banking license. So great. Let's see if they get that license, and then we'll go from there. Number 2, CoinMetro fan. How many test QA staff are employed by CoinMetro? How much internal testing is typically done before releasing to the beta test group? QA, an official QA, we actually don't have, and we've been looking. Though we do have two of our developers have done QA testing in the past, and we do a certain level of QA testing before we release. But the reason for the beta group, to be quite honest, was to take this 17,000 people we still have in Telegram and put them to good use. So while there were tests, at some point we tested more than we should have, and then at other points we would release things without testing just to see what was caught by that beta test group. So official only QA staff, 0 right now. But though we're working on that. And QA staff, as far as who are doing other things that also do quality assurance, 2. Lucky Charm, 2. Kevin, are we releasing a referral program just before the minting and launching of the exchange? I want to have my referral link. Yes, we are. We're still going through exactly what we're going to offer for that, structuring the program to make it just I guess so people want to use it, so people actually want to take part in it. So that's not yet completed, but yes, it will launch before we go live. What other programs and marketing you already have planned that you can share with us now? Well, I apologize, guys. I need to rest my voice for a bit. So usually I can go on quite some time on these answers. I might have to cut it a bit short. But so programs and marketing. So we have some local marketing that we're doing here in Estonia. We'll do a few meetups here in our office. We have an airport gate that's going up in December, which is quite cool. As far as outside of Estonia worldwide, obviously we've been working on SEO and organic for quite some time. We have an in-house SEO expert that's been with us now for a few months, Richard, and he does an excellent job. And he's been really fine-tuning the SEO approach. So that's been ongoing. Organic content has been another thing we've been focusing on. Social media as well, building up our social platforms so that once we do go live and start to press some money behind those platforms, that it actually brings us some viewership. And really getting back out into mainstream press. So mainstream financial press like your Bloombergs, your financial news, etc. And then expanding out into crypto press as well. Not to mention, obviously, Google AdWords. All these good things are also going to start to kick off as well once we start to go live. Once we're able to market the fact that we pay makers, that we have a referral program, that we're pretty much cheaper than everybody else, on the top of the fact that we're paying makers to actually trade with us, I do think we're going to see, it's not that hard of a product to market, to be quite honest. So, number 4. Bruce Lee 707. Hi, Kevin. Hope all is well with you and your family. Thank you. Same to you, Bruce Lee. And yes, I think everything's fine. I've been away for a few days, but as far as I can see, everybody's still alive and kicking, so that's good. When CM is up and running with all its pistons firing, what kind of revenue would be looking in the short, medium, and long term? We have a business case actually that we put together that has 3 years worth of projected revenue. It's conservative on some sides. It might be a bit aggressive on others, but overall, I would say it's conservative. First year, I think we see a revenue of something around the line of 5-6 million euro, or 5 million euro, I think, but we spend, or 4 million euro, and we spend 5, so we lose 1 million year one, something like that. Year two, we end up with revenue, I think, approaching 15 to 20 million, with maybe 12 million in profits, and then year three, it's over 40, 34 in profits, something like that. Over 50, I think, with 34 in profits, something along those lines. So obviously it depends a lot on volumes. It depends on the launch schedule of the other products, banking, etc., IBANs, blah, 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 debit cards, and then how we infiltrate those into the market. But that's a rough idea. What kind of profit margin we'll be looking at in the long run? Profit margin depends on the product we're offering, right? So crypto exchange, the profit margin is quite low. I think it's in the high single digits, I think, to be quite honest. And that's, again, there's a lot of speculation there because, when you have somebody that comes in and gets onboarded, there's a price to pay to get that done. They buy, let's say, a Bitcoin or half a Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoin, whatever, and they sit on it and they don't trade. You can lose money on those clients. And then you have clients that are active traders, where obviously you can make some money. But there's also fees involved when you're moving that money around. There's also liquidity fees, etc., from providers and makers and blah, 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 blah. So certain pieces of the ecosystem have profit margins that are significantly larger. But I would say the average profit margin is maybe 30%, somewhere like that. Number 5, Robin Timmerman. What policy changes will implement for hiring any more remote employees? Good question, Robin. So I can't say, and I hate to say this, but I can't say that even if we had different policies as far as hiring it wouldn't have made a difference. Where we do need and have made policy changes is the segmentation of data. So we have these email addresses that were not taken from a database because we did have segmentation of duty already. Designers don't need access to databases, and they didn't have them. But they had access to some repositories where documents were held. And one of those documents held a very small amount of our overall email database. And it was there for, I believe, testing purposes for some data input systems that we were creating. And that was a mistake. It shouldn't have been accessible by a designer because there's no reason you should have access to that data. So those type of things have already been done. And that's really the main thing. You can always hire, we screen these people. We got their identifications, blah, 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 blah. We PEP and sanction screen them. At the end of the day, had we known we were hiring somebody from North Korea, we wouldn't have hired them. But it's something that's very hard to protect yourself against. But the real change that needed to happen is happening and has already happened and is constantly being updated now is segmentation of data. Face-to-face interview, require them to visit the headquarters once a month, bank accounts only. Face-to-face interview we did. At least not in the interim, not at the beginning at least, and we do them now. So that was already done before we knew about the OFAC thing. We started doing face-to-face interviews as a requisite. But at the end of the day, a guy can give you a face-to-face interview and still give you a fake ID. So having them come to the HQ maybe. Still doesn't mean that they're not going to be crazy and try to steal data. So that doesn't necessarily, bank accounts only, at some point that will be a necessity. But again, you should know from, our friends Danske Bank, for example, or HSBC or any bank that's been in the news over the last decade for doing things they shouldn't do, that even having a bank account doesn't necessarily mean you are who you say you are. But all these things do mitigate to a certain extent the risk. Could you see a scenario where USD can no longer uphold the peg to the dollar because of regulatory pressure and a catastrophe unfolds similar to the great unpegging of the Swiss some years ago? Yep, that was January 15th, 2015, actually. I remember that day very well. But I wouldn't expect something that catastrophic. You're talking about the Swiss franc, which up until that point was pretty much one of the more stable currencies in the world. And it was much, much more liquid than the crypto markets are or were or probably will be for quite some time. And there was a lot of other things that tied into that, because you had people that work in Switzerland that took out mortgages in euro, or that worked in the Europe and took mortgages out in Swiss franc because of the peg, and then immediately, owed 30% more money. There's a lot of different things that happen with the unpegging of the Swiss franc, but catastrophic. Do I see a situation, a possibility where it would not hold the peg? Yes. Yeah. If I'm seeing something true that didn't contact. All right, I'm trying to. Somebody's posting a few things here. Hold on one second. I can never verify my ID on your site. I feel like I got scammed. Okay. Okay, true Trits. This is YouTube. Email me directly, kevin@coinmetro.com, and I'll have a look. I can't say that support did nothing. I'm pretty sure they probably did something, but I'll have a look at it. Yeah, because you can't verify yourself doesn't mean you've been scammed. Not really sure how that correlates, but email me. We'll figure it out. Okay, back to. So yeah, I definitely see scenarios where USDT would not hold a peg, 100%. So you were a bit reluctant about speaking at or even attending crypto conventions in the past, mainly because the time was not right. What has changed now you decided to be at Blockchain Life? Well, there are specific markets that we want to see if we could have a presence in. And either way, when you're going to launch, when you're now getting close to launching a retail front-facing platform, you want to be where the liquidity is. Russia has a lot of liquidity in the crypto markets. So gaining presence is never a bad thing. So yeah, look, going to pitch, let's say, at these events, or getting a stand, or paying money to have a stand at these events, I think is usually a waste of time. But I don't go there to do that. I was actually going to speak at Blockchain Life, but at the end of the day, there was a scheduling conflict. Plus, my voice was shot. But I did talk to a lot of people, and mainly was there to just create relationships. So bank relationships, government relationships, and see how we could possibly penetrate the Russian market, and not just the Russian market, Korean market, Chinese market. Once we do need to create a awareness of the fact that we're ready to roll out, so these things, I will probably do a few more of these before the time is up. How does one get a CoinMetro jacket? I'll wear it on every one of my videos. Well, yeah, this one is, I actually don't like this at all, but yeah, I think there's only one of these. At some point though, we're going to create some more. So email me, make sure you let me know that you're going to want a jacket at some point. And when we make some more, I'll let you know. Okay, last question here from Reddit. Hi, Kevin. I hope Russia was good. It was interesting. I'm not sure how far I can go, but it was interesting. Here are my questions. How was Russia? Did you meet Vitalik? Nope, didn't meet Vitalik on this run. I'm not sure Vitalik and I would be on the same page on a lot of issues, but didn't see him this time. Aside from being CM CEO, as a crypto fan, do agree with Alexis Ohanian that the bear market is actually good for crypto innovation. Good for innovation, I don't see a correlation there at all. I think it's good for the market in general. Like I said, I talked about earlier, markets need shit filters. They need things that filter out the nonsense, and this is helping do that. And the reason we're in a bear market, to be quite honest, it's not a bear market, to be honest. It's more of a correction that's kind of stagnated. And the stagnation is also a good thing, because it's helping to weed out the shit. And that's only going to help mature the market. So at the end of the day, that's not a bad thing. What this about refining banking? Is CM becoming a bank? I don't like the word bank, but there's no other word that people understand what a bank is without saying bank. And no, we're not becoming a bank. There's literally no reason to get a banking license nowadays in the EU when PSD2 is passed. It allows you to do everything a bank can do aside from fractional reserve and lending. And those are two things that we're not going to do, at least not initially. So what it is that what people, the conceptualization of what banking is now is the same as it was like almost 300-400 years ago. It's a building where they hold all the money and they let you access that money. And they make, they put you through hoops to access your own money like it was their money. And I think that needs to be refined. And I think the blockchain and crypto can do its part in refining what the definition of bank is. I don't want to be a bank as in a bank that everybody knows what a bank is up to this point. I want to redefine what a bank is. Redefine what it is to transact money, to be a placeholder for people's assets, a place where they can invest, a place where they can send payments, remittances, get paid, pay someone else, receive money, send money, etc., etc., etc. And again, there's no real other word yet than bank. So that's why. Do you plan on offering crypto loans? No. I don't really see it's too even loaning out 50% as collateralized loans where you're only giving 50% of the collateral in this market right now is dangerous. And I don't see a way with the data that's currently out there, the last 10 years of crypto trading and prices, or 9 years of Bitcoin, I don't see any stability, enough stability for me to be able to predict what collateralization I need to do in order to mitigate my own risks. So no, at least not in the short term. Thanks for running the AMA. Don't think you get kudos for doing what you do every week. Amazing effort. Appreciate that. Don't check the Ethereum prices. Yes, please, Diligent Techie and everybody else, don't check them. Unless, the caveat is always, unless you're, a rabbi, a priest, or some, medicine man, and you can make it go up, Ethereum shoot up to 700-800 on Monday. And then as soon as we sell, get it back down to 130 or something. And then, go for it. Look at them all you want. Okay, so let's see what we got here. I don't see anything on Facebook. Maybe that's because something's broken. I don't know. But let me see what we have here on. So here's a Reddit question, I guess that might have been missed. Do you ever think about implementing a sort of vault system on the platform where people can choose to lock up a percentage of their tokens for a set amount of time? I don't know why. I don't know why someone would choose to do that unless there was some type of bonus that they were going to receive or remuneration, or unless you're talking about just like cold wallet vault. They don't want to put them outside, but they want them safe. And for that, yes, we've kind of discussed this. We've kind of discussed this, and yes, I think that that it is something we look at. If you're talking about something else, just holding, I need some more information because I'm not sure I get the reason why someone would want to do that. I think it's a cool mechanism to let people prevent themselves from panic selling, and it can make profit and price by reducing circulating supply. Yeah, perhaps. I do think that if it's offered as a security thing, where look, maybe you don't have an Ether wallet, maybe you don't really want to worry about the security of it, and you just want to put them in cold storage in a cold vault, and we hold on to them for you. Then yeah, I think it's something that, like I said, we talked about it internally, so it's not something that's initially on the roadmap right now. I hate that word, but it's not on the plan right now. But it is something we've talked about. True Trits, love the streams, keep them up. I will, as long as my voice keeps up. I'll be here. American Dude asking if there's any significant proof that the Holocaust happened. That's kind of dark for a Friday, but. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of proof. I pretty much personally know. So I grew up in the Northeast of the United States, Connecticut, knew a lot of New York Jews, that had family members that were in concentration camps. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a significant amount of evidence. I mean, either that or it's the biggest conspiracy that was ever made, and I'm not really sure why though. I couldn't really wouldn't be able to pinpoint the why the Holocaust conspiracy. I'm a Trump supporter. Well, I didn't vote for anyone actually, but if I had to choose between Hillary Clinton and Trump, I would have voted for Trump. That's for sure. I have to say that it's been a pretty interesting 2 years, and at the end of the day, and if that's like an Israel comment, I'm not pro-Israel any way, shape, or form. It has nothing to do with the Holocaust, by the way. Holocaust happened. Get over it. But Israel, on the other hand, I do think there's a problem with the U.S. kind of constantly supporting Israel. But putting a blind eye to all the shit Israel does to Palestine, and I think there's a long running issue there that probably will never really get tied down. But yeah, as far as Trump goes, it's been it's one of the most interesting years of politics I've ever seen in my life. Some of the things that he does, I have to say, I can't not agree with them. They make sense. And then he does some other things that I definitely wouldn't recommend. Twitter being probably one of them, and some of the policies maybe that he throws out there, some of the comments he makes are a little off color. But at the end of the day, the guy got elected. That's how the system works. So. I think it's a pendulum shift, though, for politics in the U.S. And I think at the end of the day, whether you like Trump or you hate him, he's probably going to cause some changes in the way the political system works that everybody's probably going to like over the next 15 or 20 years. Do I like anime? No, I don't. Never been a fan of anime. Bjorn came in with a test, so... how are the talks with debit card? Yeah, you posted that before. I'm sorry, I got stuck in this other conversation. Talks with debit card providers. So going well. I may be in Berlin on Monday to continue some talks with the bank in Berlin, but I'm not sure scheduling wise. So they're still kind of where they were last week, though there has been a little bit of push forward on a few of those talks. I expect that by the end of the month, we're going to finalize and probably end up picking more than one provider so that we can cover a larger footprint. Is it confirmed that the exchange will launch anytime between these 2 months, Kareem? Yeah, it's been now, the date has been now for quite some time by the end of Q4, which is December 31st. We have an internal date set of December 10th to have things ready, but we have until December 31st. In terms of what we've, let's say, made public, which is the end of Q4. Pedro, another thing. Oh, sorry. Before Pedro, there's somebody else. Give me a second. Another thing is, how will you handle the price difference? BTC was around 15K when the sale was on. What price difference? Because XCM was always valued in euro. So the price is still in euro. So no price difference. And your Christmas card from CoinMetro, FX Pig famously sent out a really cool Christmas postcard one of the first years we were in operation, and it was really well received. I don't know what our plans are. We have a lot of people on our list, so we'll have to look. But if not this year, definitely next for sure, Pedro. Bjorn, when will the chat function on the CoinMetro site go live? I'm assuming you're talking about the community aspect inside the platform. So we're still kind of fine-tuning, trying to get kind of it to work with Telegram, to be quite honest, and it's a bit of a struggle. But it's not a focal point before we launch, but as soon as we do launch, it will be a focal point. So shortly after launch, I would hope. All right, guys. Sorry if there's any questions on Facebook, but I see nothing here. I'm not sure if that's because of a tech glitch or something else. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? No? Okay, I'm going to assume that's a no. I appreciate everybody for coming by. Thanks for the questions. We had some interesting ones this week, I think. Thanks, everybody, for participating. As usual, thanks for listening to me for this hour with this raspy voice. Have a great weekend, as always. Like I always say, don't look at Ethereum pricing. Again, with the caveat, unless you're like a medicine man or something, you can do something about it, then go for it. Yeah, tea and scones. I'm working on it, Axel. Thanks. I may stop by on Saturday. Maybe we'd have a tea together. That'd be nice. Especially if we both are carrying around the same vocals. We can laugh at each other. A lot of people laughed at me over the last 2 days because yesterday, let me tell you, it was horrendous. Cool. All right. So have a good weekend, guys. I'll jump in Telegram when I can this weekend. If you have any lingering questions, like if the Holocaust happened or whatever, that you just want to throw around, go ahead and throw it in Telegram, and I'll jump on there when I can. And have a great weekend, guys. Spend some time with friends and family. Get away from crypto for a bit. Don't rot your brain. And see you guys next week. Cheers.